Hi everyone, for this 7250 assignment, I decided to create a book talk presentation. I decided to use a theme for my 3 book talks. A book theme that was popular when I was a kid and is still popular now is survival. A popular example of a book with this theme is Hatchet by Gary Paulsen. Given Hatchet's popularity, I selected 3 suggested read-alikes to give book talks on for this presentation. The 3 books I selected are Northwind by Gary Paulsen, My Side of the Mountain by Craighead George, and Alone in the Woods by Rebecca Behrens. These book talks would be given to middle school students in a school presentation. A 12-year-old orphan named Leif has been passed from boat to boat ever since he could walk. Forced to work on tasks like repairing nets and clothing, sharpening harpoons, and cooking eel meat. One day, Leif ends up on a boat heading north to hunt for seals. The boat leaves him and a few others to set up a small fish camp on the river to create rations while the main crew goes hunting. All seems well until a death ship visits and tragedy strikes. In 8 days after the dark ship and Men Without Shadows had gone, the first men grew sick. 2 men first. They became uncomfortably warm and then hot with a burning fever, and so weak they could not stand, and finally crawled into their huts to lie, still and sweating. Until vomit took them and they could not hold food or hot fish soup. The other men tried to feed them, and then not even water, and the vomit turned to blood, and the second day, even with what care they could be given, the ghosts left the bodies of the 2 men almost at the same moment, and they died. Then the man who cared for them was hunted and found by the fever, and went down and lost his ghost, and likewise died. 3 of them, but it did not end. Instead, the sickness became like a fire roaring through the camp, and soon old Carl started to burn. Before he vomited blood, the old man took Leif and little Carl and put them in the cedar canoe with some food and supplies and sent them away. "Go north," he said, pushing them as hard as he could from the shore. "The Men Without Shadows made the air here sick with their poison. Head north where the air is not sick, and where the water channels are so small they will not let the death ships pass. Keep going north and never come back. Never come back to this place. Never." Leif is forced to leave on an unexpected adventure after a horrible sickness hits the small fish camp where he lives. As he travels north on the sea, along unpredictable shores, Leif faces one danger after another, learning more about himself and the world on the way. If you enjoy captivating survival stories like Hatchet, then you should check out Gary Paulsen's latest book, Northwind, and find out what happens to Leif on his journey north. Will he make it or not? I left New York in May. I had a penknife, a ball of cord, an axe, and $40 which I had saved from selling magazine subscriptions. I also had some flint and steel which I had bought at a Chinese store in the city. The man in the store had showed me how to use it. He had also given me a little purse to put it in and some tinder to catch the sparks. He had told me that if I ran out of tinder, I should burn cloth and use the charred ashes. I thanked him and said, "This is the kind of thing I'm not going to forget." On the train north to the Catskills, I unwrapped my flint and steel and practiced hitting them together to make sparks. On the wrapping paper, I made these notes. "A hard, brisk strike is best. Remember to hold the steel in the left hand and the flint in the right, and hit the steel with the flint. The trouble is, the sparks go every which way." And that was the trouble. I did not get a fire going that night, and as I mentioned, this was a scary experience. I hitched rides into the Catskill Mountains. At about 4 o'clock, a truck driver and I passed through a beautiful dark hemlock forest, and I said to him, "This is as far as I'm going." He looked all around and said, "You live here?" "No," I said, "but I'm running away from home, and this is just the kind of forest I have always dreamed I would run to. I think I'll camp here tonight." I hopped out of the cab. "Hey, boy," the driver shouted, "are you serious?" "Sure," I said. "Well now, ain't that something? You know, when I was your age, I did the same thing. Only thing was, I was a farm boy and ran to the city, and you're a city boy running to the woods. I was scared of the city. Do you think you'll be scared of the woods?" "Heck no," I shouted loudly. As I marched into the cool, shadowy woods, I heard the driver call to me, "I'll be back in the morning if you want to ride home." Sam Gribley, a teenager from New York City, is unhappy living in a small apartment with his parents and 8 younger siblings. So, one day he tells his father that he's going to run away to the Catskill Mountains to live on his great-grandfather's abandoned land and survive in the wilderness alone. After laughing and recounting his failed runaway attempt when he was a kid, Sam's father tells him, "Sure, go try it." Even with the lack of faith from his father and others, as well as some mistakes on the first night, Sam perseveres and continues with his plan. By facing the dangers of the wilderness, Sam must learn how to be resourceful and independent in order to survive. How long will Sam last alone in the wild? This book, My Side of the Mountain by Jean Craighead George, would appeal to adventure lovers, especially those who might have dreamed of living on their own in the wilderness, just like Sam. Soon-to-be 8th graders Jocelyn and Alex were best friends until the relationship turned rocky after Alex's return from summer camp earlier in the summer. Jocelyn's not sure why this has happened, but she's hopeful that their family's annual summer trip to the North Woods will help repair their friendship. Jocelyn attempts to talk to Alex several times throughout the trip, but has no luck, and soon reaches her breaking point when Alex still refuses to talk to her when they are sharing a tube during a rafting trip. A trip that soon goes horribly wrong after their tube tears and they are left alone on the bank of the Wolf River. "Alex," I said slowly, even though my heart was starting to pound. I'd been so focused on watching exactly where my feet were, to avoid tripping, that I hadn't paid much attention to anything around them. I just assumed that to Alex, in the lead, the trail had been clear. "Which way did we come?" She turned and pointed with such total confidence that my shoulders relaxed. "That way." My eyes followed her outstretched arm and saw a bunch of nondescript pine trees surrounded by curlicue ferns. "Are you sure?" Her mouth wavered with beginnings of a frown. "Yeah, well, I think so," she scratched her elbow. "So where's the trail now?" I asked, trying to sound very calm and not judgy at all, but my voice was rising higher with each word and I couldn't tamp it down. Alex stayed silent, staring past the trees. Her mouth hung open a bit, then closed, like she was trying to say something but realized it wasn't quite right. It's really hard to tell. It got kind of tricky back there, like I didn't know if we should go left or right at one spot." "Why didn't you stop then?" I asked, incredulous. "When you weren't sure?" "Once the path faded, we should have turned around and traced it back to where we started, not guessed at where it should go next." "Why are you acting like this is such a big deal?" she asked, but in a way that told me she didn't want an answer. The worried look on her face told me I didn't have to say what I said next, that she already knew, but I said it out loud anyway. "Because now we're lost." After deciding to enter the forest, the girls soon get lost. Unprepared, wearing swimsuits, and having only the contents of their bag for help, they are forced to work together to overcome the many dangers that the forest contains: mosquitoes, poison ivy, black bears, hypothermia, and more. Jocelyn got her wish to be alone with Alex, but at what cost? Will the girls be able to survive in the wilderness alone long enough to be found? Find out by reading Alone in the Woods by Rebecca Behrens, an exciting novel that will be loved by young survival book enthusiasts everywhere. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.